Hi, this is Gary. Welcome to my pens in use for December 2020. Today I'm going to be looking at the 7 pens that I've picked to use during the month of December. Like last month, I've decided to stay with the 7, and each day of the week I will focus on using one pen and one pen only. The idea is that over the course of a month I'll use each pen at least 4 times so I get a good feel for how they work and hopefully get ideas about short writing and also long form writing with them. Each pen is also going to be paired with a specific ink, and in this video we'll discuss that combination. So join me down on the mat and we'll make a start on this month's pens. So let's jump right in with the first pen. It comes from Jinhao, and it's a Jinhao 200. Now I went for this pattern because I've been playing around with some brown inks and I wanted another pen that I could use my brown inks for. So this is screw cap. So we've got a Jinhao, and it's a model 200. The nib in here is a medium nib. The ink I've chosen is Robert Oster, and it's Caffe Crema. So I've been playing around with brown inks for a while. This is a slightly darker one than I've been using, and I've got to be honest, I'm actually liking this quite well. So let's do our smear test. First one is immediate. You know, we did expect that to be wet. Now 5 seconds. 10 seconds. 20 seconds. And then finally a minute. So after a minute it's definitely dry. So this is Jinhao 200, that medium nib, and Robert Oster Caffe Crema. Pen number 2. This one is a Moonman pen. This is a Moonman S5. Now, some different things about this. You can actually stand it on its end. It's got this nice little base, which is quite handy. It's an eyedropper pen, whereas most of the others are either converters or piston fillers. With this pen, at the moment I've got a broad nib on it, but it actually comes with 3 different nibs. It comes with a fine, a medium and a broad. Now I've been wanting to play around with broad nibs for a while, so this is why I've taken this opportunity. So this is a Moonman S5 with that broad nib. Now in here I've got an ink from PenBBS, and it is number 160. It's called Menthe Aquatica. I've been looking for what I tend to think of as a spearmint coloured ink for a while, and that's what really drew me to this one. Really like this. It's got that hints of green, it's got the hints of blue. It's a nice bright ink. Works really well in this pen. So let's do our wetness test. We go immediate. You know, you expect it to be really wet. I mean, it's a broad nib. 5 seconds. 'Again, not surprising. 10 seconds. Starting to dry off a bit now. 20 seconds. And then our final test, we're going to go for a minute. And again, after a minute, it's dry. So this is the Moonman S5 with a broad nib and PenBBS number 160 Menthe Aquatica ink. Pen number 3. This one comes from PenBBS. So this is the PenBBS 308. Nice blue colour in this one. This comes with a medium nib, So this is the standard PenBBS medium nib. So here we go, this is a PenBBS number 308, as I say, medium nib. The ink, well again, it's a Robert Oster ink. And it's blue water ice. I love the colour of this. There's a lot of shading in here. Hopefully this is being picked up on the camera. You know, if we look here, you've got some light blues on the top of the ear, but then you've got that darker blue on that T. Beautiful looking ink. Let's do our wetness tests. So straight off, obviously we expect it to be wet. 5 seconds. 10 seconds. Yeah, still holding on to that wetness there. 20 seconds. Then finally, we're going to go for the minute. There we go, after a minute and we're dry. So here we have that PenBBS 308 and the Robert Oster Blue Water Ice. For the next pen, we're going away from this medium and broad nibs down to a finer nib. So this pen, this is from Wing Sun, and it's the Wing Sun 601. Pull off the cap. This has got a hooded nib. I haven't been able to 100% check, but I believe this is a fine nib, but it could be that it's extra fine. So I'm going to assume at the moment that it's fine. So this is the Wing Sun. It's the 601, and as I say, I believe it's a fine nib. My ink is from Pilot. It's Iroshizuku and Yama Budo. Beautiful purple ink in here. I think the ink goes really well with the top of the body. It really seems to highlight that. Our wetness test, so we'll go immediate. Just look at the purple coming out in there. 5 seconds. Wow, look at that, it looks like it's almost dry. 10 seconds. 20 seconds. So we're virtually dry there, and then we're going to go for a minute. And after a minute, it's dry. With this pen, one of the things I'm keen to explore is this nib, this hooded nib. I've never used a hooded nib pen before, and I'm keen to see how it goes with how I hold the pen. And I want to try writing with it with different angles to see if I get any different problems with it. So this is going to be a really interesting pen for me to experiment with. So this one, that's that Wing Sun 601, fine nibbed, with a Pilot Iroshizuku Yama Budo. On to pen number 5. This is a pen I'm really excited to use this month. This pen only arrived a couple of weeks ago, and it's this one. It's the TWSBI Vac700R Iris with the broad nib. Really excited to try this one. It's the most expensive pen I own at the moment, so I want to see what it can do. So we've got a TWSBI Vac700R Iris, and that's a broad nib. I love the colouring on this pen. I love that way that it's changing colour on the nib, and that flows all the way through the whole pen. In here, I've got Van Dieman. This is from the Midnight collection, and it's called Twilight Mist. Would help if I can spell Twilight right. Let's try that again. There we go, Twilight Mist. I'll have to learn how to spell for future videos. So let's go for our wetness tests. So immediate. So we expect that it's extremely wet. 5 seconds. You know, still massively wet. 10 seconds. What I'm going to do, even after 10 seconds, there's no change in the wetness. So I'm going to go and I'm going to jump straight up to 1 minute. Even after a minute, there's still a little bit of wetness in it, but it's a broad nib, and this is a fairly wet ink anyway. So this, it's the TWSBI Vac700R Iris with that broad nib with Van Dieman's Twilight Mist. Pen number 6. So this one, again, I've only had this a few weeks. This, it's a Ginhao X750. With this one, I've got a medium nib in it. Let's have a quick look at that nib. Beautiful looking large nib. Quite a heavy pen compared to a lot of my other Jinhaos. So we've got a Ginhao X750. And this is a medium nib. The ink in here, again, it's another one from PenBBS. It's number 346. And it's called Misty Clouds. With this ink, I find it does go on fairly dark, but then when it dries, it lightens a little bit to a really nice grey. I can see where the Misty Clouds comes from in the name. Let's go and look at our wetness for this pen. So there we go. That's immediate. 5 seconds. Still really wet. 10 seconds. 20 seconds. Then we'll go for 1 minute. After a minute, it's dry. So this is the Ginhowe X750 with that medium nib and PenBBS number 346 Misty Clouds. So pen number 7 that I'm going to be using in December of 2020, well, it's got to be a Moonman M800. I've said for the past couple of months, the Moonman M800, it really is one of my favourite pens. This month I'm going to be using the green version, and this green version has got the Moonman nib, whereas last month the pen I was using had the Bock nib. So this is a Moonman M800. I'm going to put a G there because that way I know it's the green pen. And it's with a Moonman fine nib. As far as I'm aware, all the Moonman pens, whether it's the Moonman nib or the Bock nib, they're a fine nib. The ink I'm using is from Colorverse. And it's simply called Able. One of the reasons I've picked this pen is I've been having problems with the nib on this particular pen. In the testing that I've been doing, it goes dry a lot, and I end up having to really shake it and mess around to get the ink flowing again. So as I go through this month using this pen, I'm going to be tweaking the nib to hopefully fix that issue with the ink flow. Let's jump in and do our wetness tests. So we start off immediate. You know, we expect it to be really wet. After 5 seconds. 10 seconds. 20 seconds. You know, even after 20 seconds, just look how wet it is. So we'll now go for 1 minute. Even after a minute, it's really wet. So this pen combination with this ink, extremely wet. And that's why I was a little bit concerned when the nib runs dry, because you wouldn't expect that. So here we have it. That's the Moonman M800, the green version, with that fine Moonman nib and Colorverse Able ink. So here are my pens for December 2020. We start off with the Jinhao 200, and that's got Robert Oster Caffe Crema. The Moonman S5 with the broad nib, with PenBBS Menthe Aquatica ink. Our PenBBS number 308, that's got Robert Oster Blue Water Ice. From Wingsung, the 601, with Pilot Iroshizuku Yama Budo. The TWSBI Vac700R, the Iris edition with Van Dieman's Twilight Mist. The Ginhowe X750 with PenBBS Misty Clouds. And then finally our Moonman M800 with that Moonman nib and Colorverse Able. So what do you think of my pen and ink combinations? Have you used these pens or inks before? How do you decide what pens you're going to use each day? Why not drop a comment below and let's have a conversation about how different people choose their pens and their inks. Please hit the like button, give me a thumbs up. The more people like and comment on these videos, it helps that YouTube algorithm to push my videos up so more people get to see them. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.